Now remember that when an email comes in and the main server is offline, the caching or backup email server is going to take that email, it's going to accept it, and it's going to hold on to it. It's going to keep trying to deliver it to the main mail server until it comes back online or the queue lifetime is met, which here we set for 1 day. Now, a important thing to note here is this is only for incoming emails from your other servers. And I'll say that again. This is only for incoming emails from other servers. Your users cannot use this server to send email. It's not configured to do that. That's not something that you can easily configure to do either. So if the email server goes down on a Friday at 5:30, the backup mail server will be able to get incoming mail. That way, Monday when your boss comes in, he can still get his emails from his Aunt Sally with the pictures of her cat Fluffy climbing a tree or whatever. But if he tries to send an email on Saturday, since the main server's offline, he will not be able to send emails. Bearing that in mind, don't be surprised if you get some nasty grams on a little post-it note stuck on your monitor when you come in Monday morning because the boss wasn't able to, send his email out on Saturday. If that's okay with you, great. The only thing that this will do is guarantee that when Aunt Sally does send that email to your boss and the main server is offline, the caching server will accept the message and it'll hang on to it. So your boss will get that message on Monday. Okay. So now we need to edit the receipt hosts file. The receipt host file is a configuration file that determines what domains Qmailtoaster is going to accept email for. So if you put the domain name in here, it's going to accept email for it. Now, if you're adding domains using the command line tools or one of the web-based tools, it's going to go ahead and take care of things like this for you. But since we're just using this email server as a caching mail server, we need to manually go in and add our new domain. So now that we're into the file, let's come on over and we'll add a new line. And remember that we are going to cache for another.com. So now that we have this in here, our mail server will now accept email for another.com. We'll go ahead and we'll save and exit out of here. And another little note here, you can mix and match locally hosted domains and caching domains. So you could have, say you had 2 mail servers and you had 2 domains, domain 1, domain 2. You can set up domain 1 on server 1 and domain 2 on server 2. Your users, you configure them to use, if they're using domain 1, they'd use server 1. If they're using domain 2, they'd use server 2. Now you can also flip that and put caching in there so that server 1 is also a caching name server for server 2. Not a name server, a mail server. So server 1 will accept incoming email for your users for domain 1, and it will also cache emails for users on domain 2. And you can do the same thing on email server 2. You can set it up so that it will accept emails for domain 2, and your users will use that. But then you can also set it up to be a caching mail server for domain 1. So if server 1 goes offline, emails will still get cached on server 2 and then delivered to server 1 once it comes back online. I know that sounds kind of complicated, but take out a piece of paper, draw it on a paper. It'll make a lot more sense once you actually see a diagram. So now that we've told our email server to accept email for another.com, pretty much the only thing we need to do here is now do a qmailctl restart. And that brings it down and brings it back up. And that's pretty much it. Your email server will now accept emails for another.com, and what it's going to do is when an email comes in for another.com, it's going to accept it because you told it to do that by putting the domain in your receipt host file. It's then going to do a DNS lookup to see where that email gets delivered to. Now, I'll repeat this. It's going to do a DNS lookup to determine where to deliver email for another.com. It does not use the hosts file. I know that doesn't really make sense in the Linux world if you're really really understand how it works, but Qmail just does not do that. It does not use the host file. It's always going to do a DNS lookup. Because of that, you need to make sure that your DNS records are set up correctly for your email. So your main mail server would be set up with an MX record and we'll say a priority of 10. You would now set up this second caching mail server with another MX record and we'll give it a priority of 20. Now, most likely what's going to happen is most emails going to get delivered to this caching mail server. So it's going to get the bulk of your email coming in. It's going to accept it for another.com, and then it's going to attempt to deliver it to the next higher priority MX record by looking it up in DNS. So you can see you could add, depending on your server load for incoming email, if you don't send out much but you receive just bucket loads of email, you could set up 4 or 5 caching mail servers, and then they would all get email, and the way it's supposed to work, it would be load balanced, and then they would hold that email and attempt to deliver it back to the main mail server when it's available or when it's not busy and is able to accept emails. So it's pretty easy to build a really big array to accept incoming emails if that's the nature of your business. All you need to do is just set them up just like we did here. Make sure you add the domain into the receipt host file and adjust the queue lifetime to whatever fits your scenario. And that's pretty much it as far as a caching mail server. We will show you how to set up a kind of like a virus or spam scanning mail server for Exchange servers in the future. This caching mail server that we did set up will scan for viruses and for spam using the default settings, and some of those were covered in the previous videos. So if you had your Exchange server and say you put it up with a priority of 10 as the next highest MX record, this email server would accept email for it, scan it for viruses, scan it for spam, and then attempt to deliver it to the Exchange server. That is one way to do it. We will cover in another video how to set it up a little bit better for that using our SMTP routes file. So that concludes this video, and once you complete it you should have a backup or also what's called a caching mail server up and running, and now you have 2 email servers. The main one, which is the one that everybody actually uses to send and receive email, and then the backup one, hopefully in a geographically disparate location or somewhere outside of your main office. That way they're on separate power connections and separate internet connections. And if the main one goes offline, the caching mail server will accept the emails and then deliver it back to the main mail server once it comes back online. So that concludes this video, and we look forward to seeing you into the next one. Thanks.